once again, good evening, everyone. I really appreciate you all. Thank you. Thank you. All right. I want to welcome you so specially to tonight's edition of Through It All. Through It All, it's all about using our stories to encourage others, to give others hope, and to let them know that it's not over, no matter what you found yourself or how it's been in your life. All right, maybe because the devil knows that the second part of my session with Idy is going to be a very powerful one. And the last minute, everything just started acting up. All right, so the devil has failed. I'm so sure tonight, whether you're going to be joining us live or watching this video after now, your life is going to be touched and you'll never be the same again. Through It All, the name was derived from my book, Through It All, the memoir of my many trials and triumphs. I've been through it all in life, been through, I'm still in disability. I had disability at age 2. Now I'm 57, I'm going to be 58. I still have the disability. But in spite of all, the Lord has been faithful to me. It was not easy getting married. Who wants to marry a man with one leg? But on the long run, the Lord did it. And after getting a wonderful wife, another trial struck. We're not able to have the children. And it took us 7 years to have our first child. And we had to wait another 7 years to have the second child. I know my story is almost like that of Idy. It's going to be sharing some of those things with us tonight. But to the glory of God, I am who I am today. Started business. It was as if it was doing well, and then it went under. So I've been through it all, and that's where we derived the name of this book, of this program. If you're interested in my book, you can visit tia.com.ng. tia.com.ng. TIA is Through It All. All right, I'm so sure you'll be blessed. If you are wondering if whatever you are going through now can ever, you can ever surmount it, I can tell you, if the Lord helped me, if the Lord helped Idy, then you will overcome and you will live a fulfilled life. All right, so without wasting time again, let me welcome to the screen my wonderful guest for today, my brother, my friend, my schoolmate, my roommate, and it was a year my senior. We were in secondary school together, and it's really a big delight to be associated with him tonight or today or in life, So Idy, good evening.
Good evening, Kola, and distinguished friends who are joining us. Good evening.
So nice to have you here tonight again.
Thank you.
So let's roll on into the whole thing right away. Last time, first of all, thank you for accepting to come back.
Pleasure. It's a pleasure.
I know you had to shift a lot of things to make this happen. You told me about it. I don't take this for granted, my brother.
No, it's okay.
All right. So the first time I didn't have the time to ask you about Through It All. I know somebody hijacked it from you. So what's your opinion about the book? And I know at the time you were a part of the whole story.
Now, I think, Kola, first of all, life is an amazing journey. And when we look back at, the seeming challenges that we face, for those that have been able to come through. I mean, the effective word is through. When you come through and you look back, you feel lighthearted, you feel great, you feel good. I mean, anybody listening to you now talk, and even you want to look back at the very early days. I mean, we met at a great time in between our teen. This was our young, early days before early teens and all of that. So just thinking about how you had to wake up early in the morning and to go take your bath in the morning. Then back in the day, and as roommates, looking at you, what was paramount on our minds? I mean, initially, there was that element of pity. How is this guy able to cope? But you were a toughian, a tough man. Kola will get up, pam, pam, pam. He's in the bathroom, he's out. And before even the guys that are, supposed to be moving fast, he's done it and come out and getting ready. Inspection days, you're standing by your locker, and you're ready to roll. And the truth about it is that inspection, you had to conform like everybody. There was no special treatment. Although you'd know that when we get to the dining hall, you will always have the passage, first passage, go pick your food. Although you were junior, they will allow you go first and foremost. I mean, you look back at those challenges and the times. Now, if you look back now, it's nothing. You won't even remember. And that's the way all of the experiences that you've been able to recount in the book have really come through. I think the most trying part of it was, going through with the family, going through with, those challenges and the very near, we trust God for the souls of the departed today, the ones that lost their lives from the train mishap that happened today in Lagos. Very unfortunate. But once upon a time in your life, you had that, you were that close. So, I mean, I'm just thinking about today's program, and I said, a caller would with that train mishap, it's a form of a jogger for you. I'm sure there would have been a trigger that takes you way back to that near incident where, God forbid, if it would have been worse, but God kept you. He kept you because of today. He kept you over and over. Even at the time when, going through the marital challenge, first of all, in fact, part of your challenge would have been, knowing how to toast the babe self. You're not a toaster, but you used to like rocking. When everybody leaves the room, you'll be playing your music. But you didn't know we're always peeping and watching you dancing. But when we are there, you won't dance. You were very shy.
But how can I dance when I'm in the midst of you all make fun of me because
No, but seriously, come to think of it, you were not dancing. But then when there's music and you're alone, you will just see, there was a particular day at E-Block, we're just coming in, our rooms were like 2. And then you were grooving. They said, I will Kola, and Kola was grooving. The minute we stepped in, you stopped. So, I mean, when you think about it, going through marriage, and thank God, God has kept your own for you. She's been the apple that God specifically kept for you, the fruit of that long wait. And then thereafter, He chose to bless you in multiple ways and will continue to bless you. And the love that you've also been able to share with folks and with this program, it's another way to show, just by shared testimony, how you've been able to overcome and to strengthen others. So, I mean, I'll give you a very strong salute, and we're grateful to God for the gift of life. So, I mean, that book, for as many that will get it, it will be nice for them. I think the big lesson from me through it all is really about the waiting period. which all of us must go through. I call it the waiting room. I was talking to one of my moms. I said, this waiting room is tough. And then I was talking to another lady friend of mine, and I said, I wonder what, how women will cope. I'm not a woman. I'm not privileged to have gone through the birth pangs, but 9 months, and then they're waiting, and the weight of the baby having to change some endemic things in life. So if you look at the entire experience, that waiting period, as you waited for the spouse, waited for the child, waited to, get through the process, and then at each point, when it looked like all hope was lost, you came back. And today you are able to put all of that down for posterity and to bless a generation. I want to salute you. It takes a lot to go through the trauma of relieving what I may call very tough times. The beauty of it is that Almighty God, had always kept a perfect pathway for you. So going back to early days at Baptist Academy in the boarding house, being roommates, nobody ever showed, it wasn't a case of pity. Yeah, you remember one other colleague who was my classmate, who is late now, Dende Williams. Dende Williams was another physically challenged. He was my classmate. We were in the same class in 1C. We lost him a couple of years back. But you were a milder version of Dende Williams. We used to call him Willie Joe. Remember, he was he was playing soccer with us big time. You were a goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Remember, you were a goalkeeper, and nobody really looked at you as otherwise challenged. You were part of us. In fact, if anything, there was a day you quacked one person. The person, we all said, goalkeeper, but we're able to laugh about it. But it just tells you that the environment there. And one of the things I say to people about going to Baptist Academy, there was nothing about tribe. There was nothing about
exactly
religion. There was, but we also respected each other. So we knew that, you had some challenge, but nobody was going to put you on a pity party, but there was respect. Whenever you come, you are allowed to go take your meals. There was no rule written that let's give room for our physically challenged colleagues, but the room was there,
so
and
true.
everybody, it was just true. So I trust God that as you go on this journey, many lives, as they come to share their own experiences, that we'll be able to strengthen and put the support structure that will make life more meaningful. The times could be tough, but tougher people get through, like Robert Schuller said. So it's a pleasure to be here, Kola. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Idy. I really appreciate those nice words you just altered as touching those days, So you're making me feel so nostalgic now. The beauty of it, now is the fact that because you guys accepted me as one of yourselves, it really went a long way those times. I never knew it to really help my my self-esteem, and even accepting myself and never regretting that, oh God, why am I like this? Even though once in a while, like it happens to everyone that has disability, you always get to that point that you always feel, God, why am I different? But I know one thing, that God never makes any mistake.
Yeah.
It got to a point in my life that I just knew the fact that He allowed me to be this way so I can be a role model to others that have disability, and to let them know that disability is not the end of the world. Is that God just wants to make a spectacle out of your life, that in spite of your challenge, I can still make something great out of your life. So now I see myself as a role model for those even that have gone through infertility, those that have gone through failed businesses. That I just say that God he used my life, and He's still using me more like a specimen so that he would do it, and I can come out and say, no matter how bad it is, God can still make something good to come out of your life. So thank you for that. Now let's go back to you, Idy. So last week, 2 weeks ago, actually, you were talking about those escapades when you were in secondary school, flowing to the A levels, and then how at the point you just almost came to your senses, just like the prodigal son, and felt like something good can come out of my life. I wanted to take it up from that point. Let's take it from when you went to the office of that woman at Ministry of Education, and you told her that you want to progress with your education, and then she brought out that file. I said, "You guy, you've been suspended before." So let's take it from there, and as much as possible, let's talk about that. Let's talk about your university days. Let's talk about how those jobs started coming up, from Guinness to Coca-Cola, from Coca-Cola to where now, that should be Cadbury, Cadbury to Samsung, and then Samsung to L'Oreal. Okay. Yeah. Yes, I'd want you to flow. I would, maybe I won't want to break you so much, and then we can talk about marriage also, and then I'll come back to talk. We can now come back, and then we talk about some of those challenges you had faced in life, the issue of waiting for your second child to come, and how God did a natural child spacing for you, the support system. So I want you to just for once forget about yourself and just use your life to preach and to encourage somebody out there.
Yeah, thank you, Kola. And truly, the first time it was when I watched the video, the playback, I said, whoa, this was a full hour, and I know I had to step into class at that point. And in this edition, I had to step out of class so that I could be a part of it. Yeah, I think, the last time I did give a sense of my journey, and that sense of that journey was really around some of those things that we all would do in our teen years, not realizing that somewhere along the line, there are mandates that have been given to us, or mandatories, but we just get carried away, and being carried away with distractions. Those distractions, some people never, we make that turn, some never come back.
Exactly.
So specifically to the point where you wanted me to kick off from, after I got my first A-levels from FSS Ondo, remember I said I did 3 subjects: economics, government, CRK. I had 3 points, D, E, F. And then from there, I found myself, I didn't get into university because the points were low. And I also did not want to go study a single honors course. So I chose to go into the civil service. I was employed as a clerk at the Ministry of Defense. And, I got into the Ministry of Defense as an SCO, Senior Clerical Officer, level 6, with my A-levels result. And that afforded me a salary of 178 Naira per month. On the 10th, they would always pay us, we're paid 58, I was paid 58 Naira then. Then at the end of the month, they'll pay me the 120 Naira, the balance. It was quite a lot of money then. But going through that experience, what was that aha moment? My friends and colleagues will come home. Whilst they are talking about campus, the university, I'll be talking about, being a civil servant and the public service. And one day, my father, we're living in Satellite Town. My father just listened to me, and my friend left. And my father has this strange voice. He will just tell you, get inside here, stupid thing. I listen to you and your friend, you're talking about civil service. Meanwhile, he was a Bunga civil servant. He said, you just wasted your time. That's the way he speaks, you know, and he then said to me, you're just stupid. You went to waste your time in Ondo, and the man just started harassing my life. He didn't beat me. He didn't say anything. It was just the verbal. After I finished that thing, the next day I said to myself, I'm going to find a way. I'll go back to school. That was when I called my friend. He's late now, Deomi Peko. And we went to Ministry of Education together at VI, where you have Eco Bank now. Okay. That was Federal Ministry of Education was where you have Eco Bank in VI. And we got in there and we went to, it was Mrs. Okonkwo, God rest her soul. I don't know, I pray that she's still alive somehow. And if she ever gets to watch this video, she will remember. Okay. These two boys just walked in and someone pointed out to our office. And we got in there and she said, listen. And she said to us, we sat down, Peko and I, and then she turned and said, why do we want admission to go and retake? And we now said to her, our grades didn't come out well. You know, in the country of the blind, my own result was, with that DEF, I was still better than Peko. Peko he only had like 1 point. And I'm not sure he even attended class one day. Our original Rare, he was not even, if I talked about being where I was, Peko was EFF, anywhere, F, you know. So clearly we had to go retake. And then she now said, okay, we should sit there. She had this small, cute office and then pulled out the file. And when she pulled out the file, she now said, okay, let me check Ondo. She now went to Ondo and then, I don't know what she just did. And said, what? She said, you've been naughty boys. We said, no, ma. He said, what do you mean, no, ma? You were suspended from school so and so date. So we looked at ourselves, said, no, ma. He said, are you lying? So I said, you know, honestly, at that point in time, because I never left school, in my head and mind, I wasn't suspended. But I was, and I said, oh, yes. Oh, sorry, ma. She's now said, now you are remembering you were suspended. Said, sorry, ma. Now, I couldn't tell her how one did not remember the suspension because, like I told you the last time, the minute, you know, the story around it was, you know, a friend of ours, classmate, she was having a party, and then from where the girls' hostel was, way back, we used to call the track down Babylon. By the time you come through Babylon to come to the boys' hostel, behind my own hostel was where the pathway and the cars were parked at the fence, and my own hostel, Niger House, was just very close. And my room was the first one. And so when the Olodes saw, or the security men got wind of it and they started chasing the girls and trying to catch them, well, like I did say the last time, unfortunately, one of the girls ran into my room and we just covered her, but we didn't cover the hair. They had about 3 girls that they kind of secured, and they were taking them to the principal's house, Mr. Dejinle, those days. And we had to pull out the socket of, what do you call it, the cutout. So
it's actually
dark. It was dark, and we just rushed all the others, rescued the girls, and then took them to their rooms and made sure they went all the way to the hostel. And that was what gave room to that suspension. Mr. Borishade, finally, some of us were suspended. But the suspension letter did not get home. Because those days, they had a box where they keep all the letters and the postman will come and get it. But somehow, don't ask me how, but we kind of pulled out those letters and those letters didn't get home. So my parents didn't know that I was suspended. They still don't know till today. But I probably would have mentioned to my dad or to my mom. I'm not sure I ever told my dad because it was just water under the bridge. So it was that incident. Apparently, you know, they used to put copy this, copy that, copy. That was a letter, the copy of that letter that she now flashed, our names were on that list. Wow. And who would have expected? So we now said, we promise we will not be naughty again. She didn't ask us what we did, but she knew we were suspended. She then said the verdict both of us will not go to the same federal school for the retake our A-levels. We said it was okay. So she now pushed Peko to FSS Sokoto and sent me to FSS Suleja. But we got admission letters. She gave us letters to go to the VP academics of the institutions, and now it was time to go. So I bought my ticket. It was 54 Naira, 50 Kobo, Nigeria Airways then, return ticket to Abuja. And then I got into Suleja. That was how I went back to school and done some work. Now, fast forward, I did not, again, I played around, wasted the 1 year, but this time around, the result was slightly better. I had CDE. Again, I didn't take JAM, but the events surrounding it was really more around how, by the time I got there, this whole big boy syndrome, no, they were not my mates. And I met a friend of mine, Charles. Charles and I were in Ondo together. He too came to retake, but we were all in the same room. And there were some other friends who were my very good friends, Santu, Ayo, Biodun. All these guys were very tough guys. They were just, if you talk about not going to class, those ones were first class, grade A, NFA, no future ambition.
No future ambition.
Some of us, I managed to go to class once in a while because I didn't realize what was I going to do. I'd done this before. But I think the aha moment for me was when we were going to take mock. And there was a particular teacher that said to me, he was not going to allow me to take my economics. He said, the first paper, he said I didn't appear in class 75% of it or something. So I now looked at the man sent me out. And then, I had this famous shokoto. My trouser was like 3/4. It wasn't full. I don't know how going to school, I just said the tailor should sew, don't sew the normal trouser, make my own, like
3/4.
Just 3/4. It wasn't full length. So it was easy to spot me out in the crowd and spot me in that whole thing. And so the man spotted me and said, "But teacher go to don't for email, your class read." It was a Yoruba man, Mr. Omo something. It was a Yoruba man. He said, boy, you in class. And he didn't know that I understood Yoruba. So he was telling somebody and he came to me. And he said to me, am I a member of this class? And I told him yes. He has not seen me before. What's my name? I gave him. He said I should leave the class, that I've not been coming to class. So I walked out. And when I walked out, he then said to me, and I went to him, I said, you know what? There's something I want to tell him. Yes, I didn't come. And I just want to tell him something, that if he allows me to take this, I will not miss the rest of the classes. That I made a mistake, and I promise him I will not in any way, that he should just allow me. And he allowed me. Yeah. So I did that, and I started going to class. So I went to class for the balance of year. I don't know why I just was not going. I just felt tired of the whole thing. And, fast forward, I now had to get admission. We finished school then. I didn't take JAM. So my cousin, Dr. Enang, he was in University of Then it was Cross River State University, University of Cross River State, I beg your pardon. And then I couldn't do, and then went into the medical, he was a chief medical officer or something. And he took me and said I should come. He got me admission to join. Then they had a remedial program. So I went in. And I had to use my A-levels to go for that since I couldn't walk through. I don't know, there's a hand up there. I don't know if the hand is for a question or something.
Whose hand is that?
Omotola Sachs.
Omotola, are you trying to talk?
Oh, it's an error.
I think it's by error. So,
all right. Sorry. Okay, sorry, my power of observation.
No, okay.
I'll try and pace it up a bit so I don't bore you guys. But the reality is that getting there and going into that program, that also, it was a bit of a setback again. So, but I'll tell you what was good, benefit of looking back. I left Baptist Academy at the age of 15. So I had, call it, some good years. I still had space. A-level 1, 218. I was still within the space of age that young and all of that. So I didn't have much problem because I finished quite early. And so when I did that remedial program and we finished, I did well. They now posted and they did everything. They now gave me religion. Religion. Then I just imagined myself wearing the cassock. I said, no way. And then, even then, whilst we're in the university then, they used to have some SU groups. And those guys, when they are reading, I remember vividly, there was a time, they had this block where we're very close to where we're reading and they were having fellowship. And these guys were disturbing seriously. I just told my guys, I said they should come, Joe. We got there. Again, because I know how cutout works, just went and removed the cutout of the whole block. Now went and got candle and they were praying. I said, I know this type. They now brought candle and they were doing fellowship. And the next thing is we now took there was sand outside there. Just used the stand and just prayed and they left the class. They should let people read. I don't know why we did that, but truly they were disturbing. And sometimes people just want to show that they have this faith. For a day that one has decided to go to class to read, and that's not the wrong time to be doing fellowship. So even with the cutout, the whole block went black. And these guys were still going on. So we had to carry sand and we poured sand inside there. We're just stoning the candles with sand, and they now saw that they had to go. And so they were now praying without light. And we said, it's okay. At some point, we just put on the lights, and then we left. We went back to stay. So no reading. But when I look back at those things, I just feel, when I read the story of Saul of Tarsus, I just remember, I said, so there were some daring things we just did with SUs then, because SUs were a bit too much for one to understand. But here I am today, just sitting back and praising God and talking about God in a very nice way. So I went through the university. At that point, it was tough. I couldn't go with that course. So I went to my cousin. I said he should take me to the head of department of economics, Dr. Obogodum. Dr. Obogodum looked at me and said, young man, are you good in mathematics? He didn't look at any result. I said, I can try. I said, this is not about trial. Economics, you need to be grounded in mathematics. I said, I will. And he said, well, he's not going to take a gamble. So I then, at that point, I said to him, sir, I want to ask you to do me a favor, because if it worked the first time with that teacher in FSS Suleja, I said, I will appeal to this man's conscience. So my cousin had left because he said he should go. Doctor, leave him to me, I'll deal with him. Then I said, sir, I want you to give me as a mark of, just give me as an, more like a target. Give me a target. If I don't hit it, then you can withdraw me from this program and this department. And he looked at me and said, okay, if you don't pass SSC, which was science, social science, maths for social science students, SSC 111, and you don't pass 112, first year, if I didn't have a minimum of a C, that he was going to withdraw me from the Department of Economics. He was the head of department. I said, okay, sir. I left. And so they moved. I was now admitted into the Department of Economics. And to the glory of God, first semester, I only had one C. I slammed, GPA was 4.6. Second semester, my GPA was 4.64 or something. But I was on the honor roll of the department and faculty. And I didn't bother going back to him. And he was looking at me to say, this boy, I hope he was not, the usual, let me watch it. Year 2, same thing. I was on honor roll. Year 3, I was on honor roll. One of the little characters in the department, but mine was a bit more because one of the things that was exceptional, I was a university athlete. I was in the university volleyball team. I was a main spiker in the team. I was one of the main spikers. I was in the basketball team. I was the badminton. champion at that time, and I was also in tennis. Now, whenever we go for NUGA trials, it was always a tough one because I'll have the badminton singles to play, and by the time I get on court, after my game, the next thing we have a volleyball match, and I have to be there because I was a spiker, and I had to be there. So at every point in time, I was a super sub for the basketball team if there was any injury, so I would naturally feel it. So more or less, I was, you can call it a utility athlete in the university then, but my focus was volleyball, badminton, and tennis, those three. And then basketball, of course, was natural. And if you can even see, it was the injury, this my finger here, was as a result of, it was in court, in volleyball court. Wow. When someone spiked and this came off. From that day, I had to put it back and it never reset again. So volleyball I was very much in there. So I was very much into sports. I never lived in the hostel. We never, not one day. We had our own camp where we were staying. And you know, when boys are together as big brother house, everything goes. But I didn't, I mean, through my education, my parents were just simple civil servants. And my mom used to, if she sees anybody coming to you, she'll just give, if it's no matter where, she'll tell you are going, please. She will wrap, sometimes in the paper, you see 10 naira, you know, she'll just wrap it and say, son, just manage this. And then they used to sell, there are some restaurants, the big boys and the big girls could afford ESMA, 2 naira 50 kobo was for a good plate of pounded yam, AC there. I couldn't afford to go to those places. So my friends and I, we used to go to Blue Cotton. Blue Cotton was 1 naira. Rice with yam. The yam would be like feast, like that, with the beans without. By the time you take that and take it home, we're living on our own. You mix it with some pepper and put water. You make it spicy again, then it will cover 3 of us. And of course, we had our neighbor, Friday. Friday used to sell cigarettes at the junction. That was when we used to collect a cigar. You know, I used to smoke then. We'll collect cigar, it's peto. You know what peto? But collect today, pay tomorrow. So we call it frayo, peto. Then you'll be counting how many are collecting, and then we used to 50 a lot. So if you and I are going color, and I'll tell you, I did there, you understand, say you did 50. So sometimes it can be 3 of us on one stick. But if I'm the owner of the cigar original, I'll wait for the claro, that is the lower part. Now there the cigar, the sweet pass. But the beginning, just burn the chaff off and hand over to the next guy. At least 3 guys to 1 stick of cigarette. That's how we'll help ourselves to it. But we went through school. I went through with all of that. But I'll tell you, for every 10 naira my mom sent to me, school term money, I'll go to the bookstore, I'll buy a book. I had a very rich library, and I was very, very, so seeing my grades turn out, to be honest, I was reading, but I was not so reading, to be honest with you. I wasn't very studious. I mean, you won't believe this, scholar, and you guys will not believe this, but I wish some of my classmates could attest to this. I never missed my lectures after that experience. I was 100% in terms of attending lectures in university. I didn't miss my lectures. But by the time we have tests, my classmates will come to my house. They'll come and pick my notes. I'll give them my notes. I'll tell them they'll go copy, because most guys too were not going to class. They'll collect my notes, and then they will bring it. I'll tell them to bring it at night, maybe around 11. But I would just sit back at 11. I was nocturnal. So I'll probably read to the early hours of the morning, and I'll be fine for any test. Then most of my classmates will come for us to have group discussions, and especially with maths and econometrics, all of the, yes. And that was how I was using that to get myself a lot more improved. And then I helped a lot of my colleagues work, you know, every workings we had, and especially with macroeconomics and econometrics. So that's how I did. And I managed to graduate. I did quite well. I was very close to making a first class. I missed it by whiskers. And I had 3 university prizes at graduation. My father gave me a very big goat And the goats, we almost sold the goats, but I decided let's not sell it. We took it to one place and we made some good barbecue out of it. But that was just it. And next thing for me was I went for my youth service in Port Harcourt, Rivers. And story for another day, Kola, I served at Elf. But I must be honest with you, it wasn't like that. In camp, I was a game footballer. I was a central defender we were at UST. And I will not tell some things that happened in camp. That one is story for another day. But in camp, I'm not sure I wore the uniform more than 4 times. NYS uniform, no. If I wear and pass 5 times, it means I try. We got into camp and the day we left, endurance trek, maybe about 4 times. But you will ask me, how was I not going on parade? I would sit down. My RSM was Papa Gandhi. Papa Gandhi used to smoke one cigar like that, more long. We serviced Papa Gandhi with more very well. And then they will not, when they are marking register, we are across drinking our beer and smoking, waiting concern us with match pass. I didn't go to match. I never matched. And then in Port Harcourt then, there was one, I think it was Dreams, a nightclub. In the evening, night, we'll go to the nightclub. Then the camp commandant, Captain Amma saw us in the club one day. He was angry, very short man like that. The minute he now left, went back to camp to blow the bugle. When he did, we saw him and we went out. We found our way back in. And I went straight from there in my pajamas. I was standing in front. Amma looked at me and said, I will get you. I will get you. And he didn't believe how, when you will see us in the nightclub, but you will come to our rooms, we are already in the room. So the man couldn't just figure it out. But most of those RSMs, those soldiers were good. We supplied them with the right ammunition, you know what I mean, not bullet hole, and didn't go to camp. And I was in the football team. So again, that gave me an edge because we're also training in the morning. I did my camp at UST, finished, went to ELF. But I didn't get to ELF to serve in ELF. There's a story around that. They posted me to girls' secondary school in Eka. That was a big problem. And that school, anybody that knows Port Harcourt and knows Eneka girls, Kai. I said, this one, I will carry carton. I told my cousin, Odwak Awankwo, Odwamo Ogo. I carried my letter like this from camp, got home. I went there. And I went to the principal and my cousin sat outside. And I said to him, I had to stammer. I had to stammer seriously. They wanted an economics and maths, someone to teach economics and maths. I got there, I said, on inside. Yes, where are you from? I said, I'm from the secretariat. And he looked at me and said, so what are you doing here? He said, I've come to man, what is your name? I said, it's Idy Enang. He said, what did you study? I said, economics. The man just said, wait, I'm coming. He went inside, he just wrote my rejection letter. Oh, said, sorry, don't mind, just go. Don't worry. He rejected me instantly. My cousin, I said, if you open your mouth, Odwak is still alive. Oh, by the time they knew it, I was back in NYSC Secretariat. The minute I got there, they were all my guys down. Bros, I got there, I went to the filing room straight, and I said, guys, put my file. And now my guys did that, and would they buy beer? You know, if they buy beer for people, and they give social lubricant, know how, hey, buy 1 beer for you, give 1 beer. And that was how we were surviving in camp. They give guys beer, all those officers, forget. By the time we got in, my file, people have been waiting. They had sent a lot of people packing. So all of them were waiting in camp before they opened the doors. Me that had just come, I sat there, I went to my guy, I said, put my file on top. And by the time the chief inspector, Mr. Fadansi, then our man that was in charge of football, Uncle D, we used to call him Uncle Mr. Gina. They were the two handling all the people that were rejected. We now came out. They came out and started calling the names. They brought out the files like this. The first name they called Idy Enang. My file was on top like this. They called my name. Everybody said, I just came now. I said, I'm only a thief, get around. I went inside. You know, God, man, God loves me. Forget.
It's obvious.
I'm telling you, you know, I got in there. Then Uncle D looked at me and said, Idy, Kilo Shele, Eneka, but Mr. Fadons, he said, these people wanted, you studied economics now, so why? I didn't tell them I stammered. I didn't say anything. I said, and I had to leave that place because those girls would have put me in trouble. Eneka, yeah. My cousin in Form 2, don't tear. I see if I go here, now Katon, I will carry on Lagos. And then my papa, not dead, he go finish. Not ready to be a father. Not ready to be called, have your grandson, your grand. So I advise myself, well, I reject myself. But the truth about it is, going into that room, then what helped me was because I was in the team. I was the central defender. Then the only space, where would they send me to? I said they should send me to ELF. Coincidentally, that uncle of mine is late now. He died last year, Mike Awankwo. I got his card from him. I didn't know that card would come in useful. That day, I just pulled out his card. I said, ELF. They said ELF has rejected about 12 coppers. They don't need more than. I brought out the card. I said, Oga, post me to ELF. And they said, ELF has just rejected 12 coppers. I said, Oga, post me to ELF. I had not said anything to my uncle. I mean, we call everybody uncle now, not that he's my father's brother or my mother's sister, but we come from the same area. I just said, post me to ELF. They said, okay. So Mr. Fadons, he was really wondering why I didn't stay. And the more he wondered, time was going. I was the first person. So Uncle D said, Oga, we need him in Port Harcourt because he's our central defender. He said, because of that, it's okay. They now said they posted me to ELF. Man, the minute I came out, Jesus Christ, who did I say? I just took the passage with my new letter. As I took the passage and came out of the room to walk out, I was waving to guys and I was walking in the corridor. Who did I see? The principal. The man was angry. He was just coming with anger, coming instantly. God forgive me, Kola, and I say this with that thing that I did that saved me in FSS from the principal that saw me when I did the same thing. I just went down and pretending as if I was, I was not so able. And then I now went lower. I was crawling, and that's how the man passed. The minute he passed, I took off. So the man went and was fighting them. It was Uncle D that told me later, why not your boy, Baba, he said we sent him a stammerer. He said, because I know you, I needed you, I didn't cover you. Then the chief inspector was wondering what was it that happened to that guy. But hey, I survived. I served in health. From health, I had the privilege of, taking and that's when a lot of things started happening in my life. It was very eventful. But I'll pause at this point and tell you something. My stay in health for that 1 year as an assistant cost controller opened my eyes to certain things that I had to do differently. I was in drilling and completion department. I was a cost controller, and I saw how engineers were earning dollars then, going on rig, off rig. And those of us that were not non-engineers will stay and not go anywhere. I said to myself, I will not work in an organization where the core competency is not sitting, where I'm not in the core competency or core function. In oil drilling and all that, petroleum engineers, mechanical, whatever engineer, those guys had that space. But those of us that were accountants, were office boys, were earning a quarter of what these guys were blowing. So I said to myself, I will not. And so when Nigerian breweries brought out their first advert for management trainees, my friend Otu Moren, Otu was personnel officer in Nigerian breweries. They asked us to put our call-up letter. I did not put my call-up letter. I thought it was a joke. He called me and said, oh boy, this is my friend that ended up being my best man. He just called me and said, oh boy, I don't reject you. You didn't qualify. I said, get out, go and sit down. But this was my best friend. And I imagine today, how many of us would do that? Because of that one item, I did not get enlisted in Nigerian Breweries to go for their exams. And my friend I did not get shortlisted. My best friend was the one shortlisting then in Nigerian Breweries. He was there. He called me and told me I didn't meet the criteria. Not long after, Guinness did the same thing. But I learned my lesson. I made sure I had everything complete and I sent them for Guinness. I came to Lagos. We're close to 5,000 that came to take the test at Yabatek. I remember vividly. My friend was staying at Igomu, Nigerian Breweries. They have their guest house in Igomu, opposite Lagos Brewery. I was there with him. And he said, I've come for the test at about 5,000, that will be about 5,000. I went there. In that sitting, we were like coming for jam. We were many. And they asked us to write our degrees at the back. I had only one line, BSc Economics. There were people there that were 3, 4 lines, diploma, this one, that one. I say, hey, we're going to take jam after. So when people talk today about unemployment, jobs and all that, it happened then. I'm talking way back. I'm talking 89, 90. I'm talking 1990 to 1990. Way back, not very far, but far. And here we are, still the same thing. But one thing that stood out was just the grace of God and here abilities, one ability. At the end, I went back to Port Harcourt, back to my base. I opened the joint. The next camp, I meant to apply. They gave me a space. I called it the Hive, and we're going to sell pepper soup. And then I went to Romokuru, Rumo Lumeni. There was a lady, the patients hired her to come and be cooking fried rice. And we called the place the Hive. I put up a poster with my friend, DK Dimirinta. DK became my partner. I borrowed 500 naira from my mother in Lagos. I told her I'll return it. Later, I went to do business. I was that waiting period. I got myself into camp. I was sitting at the NYC camp for, when the first, what do you call them, coppers will come in. So we had a space. I called it the Hive, and we had campaigns inside the cafeteria, come to the Hive, listen to the vibes, and feel alive. We had I didn't even know I was going to get into marketing, but that was the beginning. But I learned one thing. That was when I stopped drinking. After the first week, we'll finish everything and we'll sit down and drink. Oh boy, I drink my profit. I tell myself, say, Kai, I need to drink again. That was how I stopped drinking beer. That was what made me stop drinking beer. It wasn't that anybody evangelized. First time, I was shacking my profit. I said, no, doesn't make sense. So we stopped. Fast forward, they were in camp for 3 weeks to 1 month or whatever. On the day camp was going to close was when Guinness, the letter got to me from ELF that I needed to be in Guinness for a face-to-face interview. And that was the day a lot of guys, we had open credit books for them where they will be drinking, because I know the way it is. Coppers, just pay. Once Alawi comes, you pay. And all have their flag numbers, their contact, everything. So I photocopied it and I went to the camp commandant. I said, these people are owing me. And I said, I have an interview in Lagos. The man said they should not pay them. They should get my money before they get their certificate. And I went to Guinness, Ayodele Dion. That's how I attended the interview. It was at the interview that I met all the big men in Guinness. The directors were there for management training. And I sat down and they asked me a question. What would I like to be paid? I said, how can they ask me that kind of question when they know how much they want to pay me already? Because of them, I'm not missing. I just said it just the way I'm telling you. They all broke out laughing. I remember Jafar Yakubu. He was the ST and DM, Biola Kokbola, the late Ralph Alagbi, Ansley Matiomo, personnel and marketing directors. Instantly, they must have said, we want this guy. There were 11 of us that were picked out of almost 5,000 finally. That's how I got into Guinness. It had to be God. And then my steps started growing in my career and spent 7 years at Guinness. I had privilege of launching Satsembral. I had some great bosses like Ekunifo Okoli, Aki and Yeleka. But God really helped me. But one thing I'll tell you, And this is where I want to tell you and let everybody hear this. Our country is at a place where there's so much of tribalism or ethnicity, and people will label people for who they are, what they are. I can tell you that people from my part of the world, and I'm speaking now from an Akwa Ibom, Cross River axis, when many went up to what? I mean, managerial level, if I remember correctly, they were not up to 5. Yeah. Up to 5 in an entire now. But when you go to the fitters, go to the plant and all that, you see all the drivers and all that. Yeah. But for me, I was just very little boy, young boy, and I was a full manager. I still have the management distribution list at that time and how my name was listed. And my colleagues then, the likes of, we had some great guys, Kunle Arofi, Fufuain from Kapo, Chooks, and late Henry Amofuma. We were young men that just started our careers. And, you know, today, someone like Kunle or someone like Chooks, we're still together. Donkey years after, we've come through a long journey, and but for God, each of us having our different pathways, but Guinness was the melting pot that built us. So I spent 7 years at Guinness. I moved out of Guinness to Coca-Cola. Again, Coca-Cola was another God move. I just found myself, after having launched Satzenbrau, I don't know, somewhere in 1994, in my heart of hearts, I just saw when Coca-Cola launched the Always campaign. And in my heart, I said, this is the kind of company I want to work. I want to manage this brand. So I said a prayer. I said, Lord, if you will allow me get into Coca-Cola, I will give my best to everything that you want done. You know, it was just a simple prayer. It was the same prayer I had when I was at Guinness or before Guinness. My mom used to work in Ikeja. She was in the Lagos State Thrift and Credit Society. Each time we are passing the Guinness factory and then the malt, then when I'm passing, I'll tell my mom, Ikeja Brewery, I'll tell her, I like this place. And one day, when I grow up, I'd like to work here. I was just about 9 or 10 then when I used to go with my mom. I ended up working at Guinness. 1994, Coca-Cola launched that campaign, Always. And I felt I needed to, this is a company I need to work for. And not long after that, you know, I joined Coca-Cola in 97. And I joined as Fanta brand manager. From there, the story began. Spent 11 years at Coke. And during those 11 years, plus the 7 years at Guinness, 18 solid years that God just helped me to grow in the fullness and nurture of my being. Now, at what point did I get in closer to God was at Guinness, 1992. I joined Guinness 91, so 92, December. Just at the back there was a church, but my sister-in-law then invited us, told us, my wife and I, we were married then, but she said if we wanted to go to a place, we should go to Lateran Assembly. And that's how I found myself at Lateran. And the first service I went to was when I gave my life to Christ, you know, and it was a different experience. I got there, the whole place, I was sitting there and everywhere was full of smoke. So I was tapping my wife, I said, this place, there's too much smoke. I can't even see the person in front of me. If you want to tell me about the glory of God, and, you know, that was it. That experience for me. And when Pastor B then just said, he made an altar call, I found myself outside. I didn't know what it meant. But me, I see they shock my beard, they go, see, that time I said, they mix, we'll mix Guinness with Malta Guinness C2 for a bar, confirmed, go drink the thing. I started having headache. So the second time I stopped was when I stopped after that first one. And that was it. From that time, I stopped taking alcohol.
What I was going to ask you, working in Guinness, did you not, I mean, didn't that take you back into drinking? So
No, it didn't actually, to be honest, it didn't per se because of that experience, the headache. And secondly, when I got into Guinness, when we are going for backhauls, I did my sales training in Benin. There was a time in Ughelli, we went to sample HAP because HAP was having problems in the Midwest. Man, one I shall lock me for a room. He tell me, say, in no one, make a con, I'm a sample him because I say many sample drink. I don't tell and say, they come. He say, you know, they come and say, fine boy like you, can't they give me drink free? She been tell me, make I go keep the beer inside a room. Now, so I go, the babe locked up. He say, you too fine. I go sample you today. You want me to sample drink every time. There are things we've seen in this life as beer salesmen, but I didn't sample. If I didn't, wait till I define. But you know, these were things that really strengthened and gave you the resolve to be able to look at something and say no. And of course, all of us grew. I left Guinness, moved to Coca-Cola, left Coca-Cola, and I moved to Cadbury. It was a tough one. Story for another day. My moving to Cadbury was just phenomenal. But then that was one time I had about 6 offers. I had an offer with UBA. That then Tony Elumelu wanted me to work with UBA like yesterday, to give me the job of Chief Marketing Officer. FCMB, I had a vice president in FCMB, an offer, and I had to plead with Otumba and Ladi. I pleaded with Otumba, and because I said to him, I needed to pray about it, and I didn't have a go. I had Cadbury. What's his name? My big brother, then Akpabio wanted, they wanted me to come home to be a commissioner between information and tourism, to come into, then I had, there was an opportunity for me with Celtel, then to work out of Amsterdam, and also MTN. All of these things I'm telling you, I have all their papers up there. MTN, I had an offer, GM marketing, consumer marketing, and that just did not spill through simply because of, they couldn't meet me at the point of need. So I fashed it all. But why did I fash it all? Each had a reason. But I think it was just, I had that point. And I must say this, to be honest, that I went over to Pastor Bakari and I said, I have 6 offers. Sir. He said, God is not an author of confusion. Let's pray about it and let's trust God. God will give you direction. I will give us, and I left. After 1 week, I was getting a lot of pressure from get back to us and get back to us. Then one day, as I sat in my office then at Coca-Cola, I was a general manager then at Coke. And then the scripture, Isaiah 58 came in to my heart, and verse 11 and verse 12, and they shall be called the repairer of the breach and the restorer of all waste places. And instantly I looked at all the offers around me. It was only Cadbury that was deep. And if you shall be called, it means that this is the place to be. Every other place was smooth. That was the only one that was not so smooth. I mean, FCMB gave me authority. That's the place in my life. And I'm calling names because I know that this is just to encourage a lot of people. I'd never in my life experienced the fact that people want you to come work for them. And then they ask you, what do you want us to do? And what do you want? Name your offer. And at that point in time, I just said, hey, you know what? Just give a figure. And they matched it. Fear catch me. Because it was what I was getting in Coke. But I didn't go. I finally had to, plead with Otumba then, and a colleague of mine then in Coke. I asked him to go. And I said, can I bring someone? And then I brought one of my guys who I had the privilege of mentoring, and I took him to Otumba. And I said, sir, this young man, he will take my stead. He called me and said, Idy, I cannot offer you what I offered. I cannot offer him what I offered you. I said, but sir, give him at least one thing that I will beg that you give him. I said, you see the generator that you're going to give me, please give him. He will need it. He said, but I will concede that. I'm telling you. He said, I will concede that, but I will not be able to match those things I offered you. I can't offer him all, but I'll make him happy. That young man went into FCMB. I don't want to mention his name. It's not important. But what's important is he was someone I mentored, someone who worked with me. And when the time came, I said no, and I gave it to, I pushed him in, and I went to Cadbury. And then the rest is history. Joined Cadbury, and God helped us. We turned the place, turned it around. Whilst I was still at Cadbury, I told my colleagues and friends that I was there, only going to be there for 3 years. All my team members, I'm not going to stay longer than 3 years. If you ask me how, what, I just said it, and it was the Spirit of God ministering to me. By month 30, we had cleaned the records in Cadbury, and Cadbury was standing strong. And by month 36, after the AGM in Abuja, I got up and I was going to leave the company. I resigned. And when I was going to resign, I knew the signs were clear. We went for our AGM in Abuja, June 4th, while we were having the AGM there, and this was the sign. Some new executive directors had come, and the company was turning around. They had a new chairman. But I noticed something, sitting there, they didn't but recognize what the executive team and the work they had done. So I turned to Tokwe Phillips. Tokwe Phillips is currently the HR director at Friesland now. So I'm calling names so that anybody wants to check. And then Paul Udochi. They were the two guys. Paul Udochi is head of sales at Flour Mills. They were flanking me. And I turned to them and said, guys, I'm resigning on Monday. They didn't believe me. And that was the day I said, the day you are not honored and the day there's a Pharaoh that does not know Joseph, the time for me has come and I need to leave. We've restored, we brought this company back. Guys, you guys will take off from where I am. And I left. At that time, I had no offer. On Monday morning, I sat in my house, in my office. I told my wife I was going to leave Cadbury. I wrote my resignation. Paul Udochi was in my office in the evening, and the MD walked in, we were speaking. God just brought him in, Alan Palmer. And I turned and I said, Alan, I have a love letter for you. I gave it to him. He said, what is this? He sat there, he opened it, resignation. He said, Idy, is this a joke? I said, no. He said, come on. Are you kidding me? I said, I'm not kidding. Kid, do I look like?
Yeah, clap.
I gave him my resignation. Paul is witness. He stood there and he turned to Paul and said, Paul, are you? He said, Alan, that's what he's just been telling me. And he said, Idy, would I have a chance to, can we respond to this? I said, there's no response. It's one-way traffic. I've resigned. He said, so where are you going? I said, nowhere. He said, are you sure? I said, why should I be lying at this age? Not long after that, I got a call. I got a call from Red Bull. Red Bull wanted me to come and run the business for Western and Central Africa. And then I got a strange call from South Africa. I was at Samsung, from Samsung. And the guy was not serious. Some guy just comments, I said, hey, I believe him. I just dropped the phone there. I said, this one is not serious. He called again. And he said, sorry, I'm calling from South Africa. My name is Kunkum Park. So long and short, he said, the president wants to meet with me. I said, where? Me? How? He said, well, he would like to have a chat with me. They are looking if I'm interested. I said, I'm not interested. He called again. And finally, I said, okay, let me listen to this guy. And I said, I'm not flying to anywhere. This is where, actually, I think I was in London then. I was in London. And I said, I'm not flying. I'm not coming to South Africa from London. No way. I'm going back to Nigeria. So they agreed to meet me. And on that day, they were going to meet. I said I was not coming to the office because I was still in Cadbury. My resignation was for 3 months. So I was still working. And at that time, you couldn't have the newspapers flag that Cadbury, with all the crises, executive director, commercial is leaving. I didn't want all those stories. I said, no, I'll come. On the day I want to come, let's meet on a Saturday at the office. They said the man is coming on a Friday. You won't believe it. You know, anyone that has been in Samsung that was there then, and this year, I can give you the year specifically, they asked all of them not to come to work on that day, Friday. Wow. And it was because I was going to have my chat with the president.
Wow.
I walked into the office on the ground floor, nothing happened. I walked in there and I finished with them. And they said to me, they would like me to go to Korea just for a look-see. And they paid my ticket. The next day, I went with them to Korea. I got to Korea. I tell you, this was another thing that God just did for me. They were going to have a trade, like a consumer fair with customers, took everybody there. Funny enough, the only person, media person, that got a visa to come, that could come through, they didn't allow any Nigerian media come through. They couldn't get visas to South Africa. All of them were blocked. It was only Dan, the late Dan. It was the OAP that used to work for Cool FM. Dan, because he was American,
Foster.
was the only one there. Dan Foster.
Yeah.
It was only Foster that was Nigerian there. And they put my name boldly. Idy Enang, welcome Idy Enang, Managing Director, Nigeria. And they asked me to go do a presentation. There was no contract. We had not spoken, and they just put me. I felt like it was a setup. And they said to me, they want me to be Managing Director, Nigeria. The rest is history. I joined Samsung. As I left, I moved into Samsung. I spent the period I spent with Samsung, God helped me, we turned that business around. I met it at a turnover of $88 million, and I left it at 4 times that amount. By the grace of God, almost 4 times when I left, about 30 months. It was all the galaxies and all the things that we launched and the work we did then. Great team. When I joined Samsung, it was just a team of 20. At the time I left, we were about 100. And we had to take 2 floors because I even said to them, we needed 2 floors. I was not going to come to that office on the ground floor. If they don't get other floors, I won't come. So there were some tough, and I'm saying this with every sense of responsibility. To tell you, Kola, if it had not been God, I would tell you, I don't know how my pathway would have been, but he graced it for me. But God gave me something called divine confidence. So today I was talking about intention. I was saying that the power of self-leadership starts from, there are 3 I's. The first I is about the intention. The second I is influence. The third I is impact. But under intention, people have to be intentional about their destinies, about what they want. Being intentional, you must have great self-awareness. Beyond self-awareness, self-confidence. Beyond self-confidence, self-efficacy. Without that, you can't model the pathway that God has kept for you. It will take you through, but you need to play your own part. Because everything starting from Guinness, at a time where, or anywhere you go, I'm sitting here, I'm a Calabar boy. They will call you Ete, they will call you Gringori. These are servants. These ones, people look down on you. My colleagues never did. I'm talking about my guys, Kule. We did not even see ourselves as Yoruba Igbo. Those things didn't exist, to be honest. But I'm talking about the outer society. So getting into a place like Cadbury, those things were challenges that I faced because as commercial director, I had a team of 140 people to manage. 128 were from one part of the country. The other 12 were not, from the rest of Nigeria. And so when I wanted to bring in reforms, they were all saying, Omo Calabar, Omo yi. And some didn't know that I understood Yoruba, but it wasn't about ethnicity. I didn't come there on an ethnic background. I came there to fulfill God's mandate. And to the glory of God, God turned around that company under my watch, under the able leadership of my other colleagues, and we joined hands, restored Cadbury to what it was, took Samsung to where it was, and then my next step was I left Samsung, and I had to leave Samsung. Let me respect why I left. I'm not going to say it, but I got to a point I just said it was time for me to go. I called everybody together, just like I did in Cadbury, and I said to my team, is there any one of you that I've stolen from or I've taken anything from? I called the finance guy. I said, is there any woman here that I have harassed? Please, every one of you, I'm giving you the license to stand down. Otherwise, I put myself open court, just like I saw Samuel do just before Israel. And I said to everybody, I did the same thing when I got to Samsung that beautiful day, May 12th. And I told them, after that, I bought drinks and I brought everybody into one room. And when I finished, I told them I was leaving. That was my last day. And I left and I walked out of Samsung. And I never looked back. And they asked me why. I said, I'm not lost. What am I looking for? I left, spent 1 year without a job, started going to LBS, teaching Of course, I had corporate shepherds then. I'm not even talking about that now. Just my career trajectory outside of corporate shepherds, outside of all of that. And then at some point, God opened the door for me. There were opportunities again, Guinness, several companies, and I decided to go with L'Oreal. And stepped into L'Oreal, spent 30 months of great time building that business, structuring it. And after that, I just knew time was up for me to go back and do that which God had called me to do, to be a trustee of posterity. And so Navigate with Idy is 14 years old, under corporate shepherd, sitting today as a coach. I'm here, I'm able to relate with every strata of the gamut you can take. God took me, just like David, from the sheepfold and took me all the way into the palace. So a string of experience that I've had, it's all to the glory of God. I mean, at Coke, I was 33 and I was overseeing some 39 countries at 33 or something. It wasn't by my power or might. No, it was just God. And so there's nothing you want to tell me about corporate politics. I've seen it. I've sat with the high and mighty on the 25th and 26th floor in Atlanta. And so nobody will shake me. After you've been with the Coke chairman, you sat around division presidents, nothing will shake you again, you know. And getting into L'Oreal, I was the most senior Black guy in that territory and across the world. So nothing there, you know, that would serve me. So I'm here to help a generation to be able to come that if I can make it, if I could make it, despite all of this, you can. But I must say that I just dedicated myself to the service to God, service to mankind, and being there to be able to say his kingdom come and his will be done. That is not to say it was a perfect ride all the way. Had my fair challenges in it, but in everything, I just give God the glory. And that kind of wraps the entire career spectrum. Kola, it was dangerous for you to ask me to speak to them.
No, it's okay, because I knew that was going to really help a lot of people listening and those that will yet listen. You know, the first thing I got out was the fact that you had dreams. You understand? You knew what you wanted in life. And even from when you were young, you were telling your mom, I'm going to work in Guinness.
Yeah.
You know, that's for someone that knows where it's going in life. I remember when I was 10 or 12, you know, I told my mom, I said, you know, I'm going to be great in life. I'm going to be commanding businesses. That day I can remember very well. The woman was just saying, Ami Loruko Jesu. And the more she was saying Ami, the more the dream was just getting bigger in my head. So whatever is happening now, it's not a fluke. It's something that God helped us to see. And then we were courageous enough to step up into it. And by his grace, we are who we are. You know? And then the second thing, I mean, you see people and they are telling you, I don't know anybody in that place. So I saw the issue of people always talking about connections. You had no connection from not even your parent following you to Ministry of Education. And I really want to make this to really be an information for children of today. You always all seem to say, there's nothing I can do if daddy does not help, if mommy does not help, if uncle does not get involved, I can't get nowhere. The only person you need in life is God.
First and foremost.
You know, and I am Psalm 32 verse 8. It says that the Lord says, I will guide you along the best pathway for your life. And that's what I saw God do. I mean, he did it in your life. He's still doing it. He said, I will advise you and watch over you. That's what God did in the life of Idy. And that's what God can do in the life of anyone that will put their trust in God. God is a faithful God. He leads. As many as are led by the Spirit of God, they are the sons of God. God told him, you are a repairer of broken down bridges. And from there, he knew the next place to go. Some of us, you will go for the highest paying thing. And it's not always like that with God. You understand? All right. So I've really learned so much. I've really written a lot. But I hope people are really, more especially the younger generations. Mr. Idy Enang, this man didn't know nobody, but God made him to really become a man of influence across the world. You understand? If you are looking at him tonight and he's speaking, you may think is somebody you can, somebody is trying to say, I can't access your LinkedIn, whatever. No, you can't. It's not like someone like me that all my handles are so open. You can't access his own like that. The Lord brought him to that point. You understand? So Idy, thank you so much. Thank you. We didn't have time to talk about marriage. We didn't have time to talk about raising your children. Maybe you can say those two within 2-3 minutes. Let me see, because I want people to learn from you and glean from you all around.
Yeah, I think the subject of marriage, I've just seen that, it's good. Just looking at the flash now, I put on the gallery, and guess, I hope the Kunle Arofie I'm seeing here is my own friend and brother that we started the journey at Guinness together. Gosh, it's good to, Kunle, if it is you, I don't know how long you've been in, but thank you for chiming in. He's one person that can relate to the story and our Guinness line, and we're still brothers still today. Talking about marriage, Kunle got married before me. We got married same year, and this year will mark our 30th anniversary. He got married to a beautiful bride, lady then, Adiola. But in my own case, it was kind of another story entirely. That's in my book. I kind of put it there, how I met my wife. And my wife's name is Susu. I met her, very strangely. We were staying in the hotel then, Airport Hotel. One of us, Fufang, had a friend who was a friend to my wife then, and invited us to our birthday, and we got there. When we got there, man, everything was there in liquid juice tight. I said, no, this woman, this person, and all my friends said, like, she can't go. I said, this person, I'll marry her. They said, no, that's enough. She's not for me, that I'll break her heart. I said, because I'll forget then we just have people that come to lick ice cream. Kule will probably laugh and, well, me only Koba Kule already. We just have people that come to lick ice cream and then go drink stout and go, but nothing committed. But at that point, when I met my wife, September, and by December, I took her November to meet my parents. And I remember my dad had actually had a dream before we came, told my mom, your son is coming with a visitor. He didn't tell me until December when I said to him that I think I want to get married to this lady. And he said yes. And he told me about his own dream. Little did I know too, I went to see my wife then. She was my girlfriend. I went to her house to see her. Her mom was there. Mommy now gave me a stack of paper to wait for her and be reading. And I was reading paper and we were gisting. I left her, went home. Later on, the mom, when she got back, the mom said to her, that young man that came to look for you, who is he? He said, it's just my friend. He said, it's your husband. Now, these two things happened differently. My father, our mother, and the rest was history. And in 92, I lost my grandmom, so we couldn't get married. I had to take her all the way to the village to show her where I come from. We went in J5. I remember my wife on the journey, she would ask me, she comes from Edo. We passed Benin. She just said, and she had done her service in Aba, but we passed Aba. She said, we're still going. You say we'll never reach. Say we'll never reach. I think the shock treatment for her when we got to Ikodakone Park, and we got down and we came out. And then before she could say Jack Robinson, about 3 Okadas have just landed. They just turned the bike and say, okay. She said, what? No taxi. I said, we taxi. Jump on top of the thing. And then she said, no, she won't go. I said, that means you walk. Oh. She said, no. She didn't. We stood there for about 5 minutes. She was shaking. She had never climbed the bag before. I said, this is her own mode of transport. So she managed to hold the guy. I'm sorry for the guy. She held the guy like this. I said, 2 of you will fall. Just release the man. I said, and if all your elements are touching the man and the Calabar man, all in body going to do giddy giddy. He could just throw away you. She said, I'm not serious. Anyway, cut a long story short, she went home, saw my village, went to see my parents, and the following year, 93, we got married. And so that's why we'll be 30 years this year. It's not been a roller coaster. It's been a roller coaster, I beg your pardon. But one thing I would say that I married my friend. We've had ups and downs. But one thing is the friendship has kept us. And knowing God has made it even more perfect. Because if you are not looking at your spouse, but you look at God and trust God, the God you trust will manifest in your spouse and manifest in the relationship and keep you guys going. So it's kept us. We have a son. He's 28. He's a big boy. He's now a man. He's not a big boy. He's a man now. And we have a daughter. She just turned 10, Morenike. So 18 years shy of each other. But I have a retirement plan in the sense that I have someone. But she broke my heart this evening when she said to me that, I said to her, you are going to make green tea for me when I come to your house, when you have your own house. She said, I don't know how you will do it, because I'm going to run away from the country. I said, to where? She said, I'm going out. I said, to do what? She said, to look for money. I said, I'm not looking for any money. You are staying here with me. She said, anyway, that was just a joke we had this evening. But that's really how it's been. Bringing up our children in the fear and nurture of God, I'll tell you, has been a great thing to do. And we're grateful. I would just trust God for the rest of the journey. And as we go on year on to year, day on to day, as we utter speech, He will show us knowledge, and there will be no language that will be hidden before us and before Him. So, I mean, it's as simple as that. The Enang family, we're sitting there. My parents are back home. My dad is 88. My mom turned 88 a few days ago. My mom will be 81 in June. Trusting God for length of days for them. And then my siblings all. And being the first man on the pack, my job is to try and show leadership and keep doing what God wants me to do. So, Kola, that's a brief summary of the rest of the family. And we trust God for what He has in store for us ahead. Good things, I believe.
Amen. Amen. I know there are a lot of wonderful things that God, I know He has in stock for you ahead by His grace and mercy. Thank you so much, Idy. At least one thing I got out of the issue of your relationship, that I want the younger generation to please keep remembering. He married his friend. He married his friend. So 30 years after, they are still friends. And you see, I always tell people, relationship, it's all about friendship. And marriage is all about you taking your friendship to an higher level. You understand? If you marry someone that is not your friend, you're going to have problems in marriage. You keep enduring yourself. You keep tolerating yourself. That you're supposed to really be friends and you enjoy yourself. Let me give you opportunity to say a last word. There are a lot of wonderful people here. I have our national president here of BAPTACA's, the Old Student Association. Senior Adebeshi is here. I think you remember him.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Bimbola Alawi is here.
Okay.
So let me give you opportunity to say a last word to the younger generation, to everyone. Yeah, Enang is actually the assistant president. Is he assistant or deputy?
Deputy president.
Deputy president of the BAPTACAT National Student Old Boys Association. Sorry, I forgot to introduce you.
No,
All right.
don't worry.
Let me get some last words from you, my brother.
I think, first of all, a big thank you to everyone who sacrificed their time. I mean, just looking up, we spent the best of 90 minutes, almost a game, the length of a game, listening to one character of a guy who's just walked through walked through life and is still walking by his grace. What I want to say to people is this: whether young or old, that we must be destination minded. One thing that has worked for me in all of this, that has come through and which I want to stay through to, is based on two things. Number one, what would you be remembered for? What would you want to be remembered for? If you're able to answer that question, then if you're able to answer it, very good, because it leads you on the pathway to begin to look at how you want to structure yourself and your life going forward. For me, like Joshua said, me and my house, we will serve God. But in serving God, what I want to do is to live a legacy-driven life. And what is a legacy-driven life? It's about you. It's about me. It's about family. It's about career. It's about the community, and it's about the future. And it's important that we know that whatever we are doing, we never can tell what the next day will be like. It's enlightened self-interest that one stays true to the call and grace of God upon the life. Today, the last couple of days, I currently serve as the president and chairman of the governing council of the National Institute of Marketing. And I tell you, Kola, I've been having courtesy calls on corporate members. We've been to about 5 of our corporate members, and each time I get into a corporate member's space, most of the executives are either people that worked with me or were part of my journey somewhere. It's been very stunning and humbling. And today I had such an experience, walked into a space, and the COO of this big multinational was looking me in the face. He used to be a colleague in Cadbury, was in finance, and he got up and said to everybody there that, Idy, you will not know this. Anybody that needed to resign, anybody that needed troubles way back in Cadbury will always say, go to Idy. And little did I know. And I've led Cadbury donkey years, meeting a guy years after telling everybody there that regardless of what happens, this man, this is a story, this is a song. What else do we want? We are the living epistles that people must read. I'm not saying there's a perfect man. I am not perfect, not by the least. I'm a rare boy. God is still working a work in me. I'm not a good boy like Kola. God just made them well to be good. I'm not saying good, you know what I mean. We've been bad boys, but Kola has not done the kind of things that we have done. He's a good boy. But I'm saying that all I've seen and come short of his glory. It's all. But he's faithful to keep us on the track. So let's keep legacy-driven life. Have a legacy. Think about have you thought about the future? That future is now. That future is about you, your family, the community. Let's not start hitting each other for what it's not. And don't let anybody define you or put a label on you. I get very disappointed when people are saying, they'll say, this one is Yoruba, this one is this. And I look around me and I said, what the heck? I was born in Island maternity. I speak Yoruba. When I get home to Akwa Ibom, they say I'm a Lagos boy. I come to Lagos, they say Omo Kobo ni Omo Kalabani. So where do I belong? But I belong somewhere that is far above all of that.
Hallelujah.
Because, listen, it's not about tribe or tongue. It's about who you are. When I step into the space I want to step into, nobody looks at me at that point in time and asking me, are you from Ikodepene or are you from Lagos? What they want is my intellect. What they want is what I can deliver. What they want is the value that my life presents. They don't care where I come from. What they want is what they can get, and it's a value exchange. If Jesus could die on the cross for that exchange, you and I have no choice fighting each other. Let's rise up, brace up in enlightened self-interest and be the best we can be. Thank you, Kola, for giving me this opportunity, and I can't stop appreciating you.
No, the pleasure is mine, Idy. Thank you so much. I know it's not what you do all the time, so I really appreciate you giving me 2 whole days. Thank you so much, Idy. Thank you so much. Your book, Grip of Faith, Grace rather. Sorry, my daughter had hijacked the copy you gave to me, so I couldn't bring it on the program. She's reading it at the moment. So how can we get the book?
I think the easiest, what would happen is if anyone is interested, would probably just send a mail and my team will get it delivered to you. I'll just put in the email address and then we'll be done, because I'll be honest with you, I wish Esther is here. I can see her. Esther, where do you have the book? Help me. Just type in the details so that they'll know. That's my boss.
Okay. So Esther, please type, if you're still here, just type. I
can see Esther. One anyway. But if you're there, you can use this email address. Just send it to that email address. Okay. And you direct it to the store or where they have it available now. 1 or 2 bookshops had run out of it over the weekend, but I don't know if they refilled, so I don't want to lead people wrongly. But if you send the mail there, I'm sure they'll get to.
All right, so Esther, you can just type and then we can have it. Okay.
Same email address.
Sending the same thing. All right. So Idy, thank you so much. You know, one of the things just dropping in my heart, I didn't want to get born again because I felt I was going to be a useless person in life. And I fought with it. I never knew that it was when I'll get born again that it's going to help shape on and structure my life. You know, so if anyone is still out there and thinking that it's going to be a useless thing for you to be born again, I'm very sorry for you. The way to life. It says, I'm the way, the truth. How did it say it? I'm the way, and the life. No one comes unto the Father except through me. I found life, and it says that you will find that abundant life in me. The devil had come, the thief had come but to steal, to kill, to destroy. But when you come to him, he has come so that you can have life and have it in abundance. I found abundant life in Christ. I found grace to become whatever he has made me to become now. I thank God that I eventually turned to him. And thank God that with all the stories that Idy had said, being a child of God is not that, oh, I'm going to be a pastor. Yes, you can, yes, be a pastor, but it's all about what is going to make your life become. Say, follow me, and it will make you become. So thank God for what he has made us to become. If you are there, you've not given your life to Christ, please follow him from now, and he will make you into what you can never imagine you will become in life. You can become anything in life, but if you don't have the peace of mind and you don't have the hope that after here, I know I'm going to continue with this abundant life, then you don't have life yet. And it's so simple. Just say, Lord Jesus, I give my life to you. I surrender my life to you. I believe in you. If you confess your mouth that Jesus is Lord, you believe in your heart that God raised him from death, you will be saved. That was what I did. I thought it was going to be more than that. That was what Idy did. And by his grace, we are who we are today. He has mentioned his past. I have my past. But by his grace, his blood washed it off. Because some of you will be looking at him with the old eyes. And the Bible says, henceforth, let no man after the flesh. You understand? So we give God all the praise. I did thank you so much. I really appreciate it. All right. So through it all happens every Thursday. By his grace, I'm coming with another wonderful guest next Thursday by His grace. Please be a part of the program. I appreciate every one of you that joined. Sorry, I can't mention all the names one by one, but I really appreciate every one of you. If you need a copy of Through It All also, you can send me a message via my WhatsApp or anyhow, or you can visit tia.com.ng. All right, and if you're watching this on YouTube, you can always, I would appreciate you subscribing to my channel and watch other past TIA or Through It All sessions. We've had almost like 150 sessions on in my channel. So till I come your way again next Thursday, the Lord will keep blessing and keeping you. He will make His face to shine upon you. He will continually be gracious and helpful unto you. Thank you. Idy, thank you. My regards to Suzu and the soldiers in your home. God bless you, my brother. God bless you, everyone. I appreciate you all. Bye.
Bye.